question of the week, and that's has Sam Luckley calmed down from his trip to Wembley yet?
Yeah, we thought he might have gone missing for a week there, but no, he was here when we was back in. But what a great weekend for him. Enjoyed it, the big fella.
I think he did too, by the looks of it. Who are you a fan of, EG Sport?
Oh God, unfortunately, Man United. So we're not.
Is that a good result for you then, or was?
I can't give up with this season, mate. I'm looking at next season now. We've let this one go.
Fair enough. Did the boys get treated to a breakfast on Tuesday for that 0 as well?
Yeah, we did. Always nice to start the week with a free brekkie. So, the lads were on form.
Lovely. Do you go out somewhere for it, or is it a big in-house feast?
Yeah, we usually go to a place called Nibble on Humber Street and Thieving Harry's, I think it was called. So we chop and change between them two places. But yeah, it's always good to get there.
I know, I live on the other side of the marina, so I'm always seeing the boys outside flowering the feast.
Oh, yeah, that's after captain's run. We'll go for a coffee there.
Yeah. Well, I see the FC boys at Nibble sometimes as well, so you're in danger of running into them on a breakfast.
Yeah, we see a couple of them dotting about. I think a few of the lads live there, but we've claimed that spot, I think, now. So
Your flag's in it, fair enough. We're 4 or 5 weeks into the Super League season now. How has it gone for you?
Yeah, really good. Obviously, for me personally, just had a big focus on having a good full pre-season. Obviously injuries can happen, but for me, I was just trying to stay fit throughout the pre-season. And not missed a game since. I feel like I'm going all right at the minute. So happy days.
Because you did have a few absences last year, which has affected your flow. Yeah. How important was that pre-season for setting you up for the whole of this year? Yeah,
it's massive, mate. I think if you're going to have a good season, you need to do a full pre-season. And unfortunately, I had a couple of calf strains in my first year here, and then that just kind of led on to me. I couldn't string 4 or 5 games together, which was disappointing. But it's sometimes you can't help it with your body. But like I said, feeling really fit and strong this season, and we started off okay.
I think you've already equalled your try tally for last season as well. Is that something that you particularly focus on at all?
No, not. I have a bit of crack with a couple of the lads, a couple of the outside backs, but no, not really. I think for me, it's just more trying to play it consistent. 8 out of 10 each week. Tries a great part of the game, something I really enjoy scoring, but you've got to put the team first, and that's kind of our mentality here. Is you've got to do your job for your mates around you, and if tries come on the back of it, then that's always great.
Because you missed the playoff run last year. You were injured for the playoffs as well, and then you weren't in the grand final squad. Yeah. How much of a motivator was missing those for you going into 2025?
Oh, yeah, it was massive, mate. Obviously, I've been there, quite a few times, so it was touch and go if I was going to, play in last year's grand final, and I was really disappointed. But, at the same time, I was buzzing for the lads to get there as well. It was quite tough watching on the sidelines, don't get me wrong, but it's lit that fire in our bellies now to get back there this year, hopefully, and hopefully I can be a part of that team.
Your old mucker Joe Burgess outside you as well has been in some pretty decent form this year. What have you made of him? Yeah, no, it's been great to get out there with him again. It's been quite a few years till we've both been on the same edge, so we know each other really well, mate. We've been playing together since high school, and it just clicks. He knows what I do, and I know what he does. So yeah, we're obviously only early days yet, but looking forward to the year ahead with him and building that combination up. Watching Joe since he's joined Rovers, I think there's been quite a lot of subtle transformation in his game, particularly on the defensive side of it. Yeah. Is that something that you're seeing? Yeah, for sure. Well, when we was at Wigan, you kind of only got picked on your defence, and you go to different clubs and it's different systems and structures. So, it's something we worked hard on in the off season there, and something we're quite happy with at the moment. Both edges, we feel like we're defending okay. So that's what wins your competitions. It's your defence. You can have the best attack in the world, but if you can't defend your own line, you're not going to go too far. So same when I had Hawley there, he likes to defend a different way to how Budge does. So it's just building that combination and them structures in training and putting in the work really. He's one of a few players actually that I think has transformed quite a lot under Willie Peters since they've come into this side. Yeah. What's he like as a coach, Willie, for developing players? Yeah, he's great, mate. He's just, he can be harsh on you, but he wants the best from you. And, that sometimes can be a tough conversation. Nobody likes getting told what they're not doing right. But, Willie's really honest with that. And, he'll tell you what he wants you to improve on and go out there and give you the skills to do that. So, it's always good to have a coach like that who's, there to improve you as an individual as well as a team. A bit of tough love, is it? Yeah, a bit of tough love.
But
no, what's he like compared to other coaches that you've played under?
Very, very similar. He absolutely lives and breathes rugby league, so he's real passionate about it, and that's what you want from your coach. You come in, everything's already set up, the session's already planned out for us, and we just go out there and crack on really. But yeah, he's quite similar to a few of the coaches I had out in Australia, the style of how he builds the day. So no, it's been really good.
You mentioned Ryan Hall there. I listened back to your interview that you did with us in May last year, and you talked about how much you enjoyed playing beside Ryan, and you grew up watching him and all of that. Yeah. Tom Davies coming in to replace him, and he's done a sterling job from the outside perspective. What have you made of him since joining?
Yeah, again, it's been great to play with Tom. Obviously, I had a couple of years with him at Wigan there, and he obviously went on to Catalan, but he's matured as a player now. I think he's come into this team, and everyone knows what we expect from Tom week in, week out. He's always going to give you that. And he's a great character to have around the place as well. So I'm sure if you ask a few of the other boys, they'll tell you some funny stories about Tom.
Radio friendly funny, or
maybe not? Maybe not.
Well, yeah. Another big addition to the squad this year is Arthur Moore coming in. What will he add to this side?
Oh, just his speed, mate. We've been out there with him today. He reminds me a lot of Morgan Escray when I played at Wigan with him. Both very similar in stature, but the speed of him and the stop-start, I'm sure he's going to go real well here.
And not just because they're both French.
Not because they're both French, but helps a little bit. But no, just the attacking style, like I said, they're very stuttery with how they carry the ball and very quick off the mark. So, I think we've seen him, what he can do at Catalan for a number of years. And, he's a great player and, really looking forward to having him here.
When we speak to Willie Peters this season, he talks about how you not wanting to peak at the start of the year, wanting to see progress throughout the first few months of Super League. How much more does this side have to give, and how much more room do you have to grow?
Oh, I'd like to say a lot. Like we just spoke about, we are very early in the season. Nothing's won in March, but no losses so far, which is great, which is something we'd spoke about. And you've just got to keep it's a very old cliche, but you've got to tick it, every week as it comes. And I think we've done that. We're not getting too carried away from ourselves. It is a long year. There's plenty of ups and downs, but we're having a bit of a good run at the minute, and hopefully long may it continue.
What have you made of the rest of the competition in 2025?
Yeah, tough. Obviously, I remember we played Cass here at home, and probably a lot of people wrote Cass off, before the game. But they turned up here, really had a dig, and pushed us right until the very end there. So I'd like to think the standard across the whole league has risen. Obviously, Wakefield coming in as well. I think they've been gone really well. So as a whole, I think it's improved, and it's it's going to be a real tough ask at the back end of the year.
What about your opponents, Leigh, then? What have you made of them so far?
Again, great start. Probably one of the form teams in the competition. Also made, a few key signings there. And it's going to be a tough ask for us this week. But like I said, we've been building nicely and we're back here at home in front of our fans. So, really looking forward to that one.
Spoke about a few of the key threats with Willie today.
Yeah.
He singled out one player as well. That's Armstrong coming out of the back. How much of a talent is he?
Yeah, I've not seen much of him, obviously being in Australia, but, his first few opening games, he's been electric. So similar to Jay Field, he's got that freaky pace. So he's someone that you've got to watch out for, but, we'll game plan that through this week and we'll see what we can do with him.
Of course, you did play for Leigh for a little bit on loan before you came to Rovers. What are they like as a club to be part of? Yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. Obviously, a team that's had a couple of crazy years, obviously coming up from the champ and then playing so well now in Super League. You'd probably look at them as a top 6 team, definitely. I know they're sitting at second at the minute, which is good for them. But, I just think as a whole now, they're a completely different setup at Leigh. And, they've been going really well. And of course, Adrian Lamb, a coach that you know very well from your Wigan days as well as your Leigh days. Is he someone that you keep in contact with at all? Yeah, no, I have a real good relationship with Lammy. He was great with me at Wigan, on and off the field. We had some good times. And again, he's someone who just wants the best out of you as an individual. Someone who, will pull you to a side and give you points where he thinks you can get better. And really enjoyed working with Lammy. Lovely. That's all from me, mate. I'll pass you over to the lads, but good luck for Sunday, mate. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Cool. Cheers.
Hey, Gilly, how are you?
Hey, mate. You okay?
Not bad. Not bad. Just on the form element of everything, it must be nice for you at the minute just to get this run, because you had a run at the start of last year, didn't you? But then ever since you just on off.
Yeah.
It must be nice to be able get a regular run of games under the belt.
No, for sure, mate. Like you said, I was going maybe 4 games and then something would happen and then get back and another 3 or 4 games, and you just can't get any consistency. It's, you know, it's not good for me individually, but as a team, you know, playing with a different edge week in, week out. So I kind of missed a big chunk there where you do build them combinations with, you know, Mikey and Nige at the time, who was fullback. So it was quite hard. Obviously, I know injuries happen, but, you know, I wanted to come to the club and take off, really. But, you know, sometimes that can't happen. So, like, a big focus for me was just, you know, rip in pre-season, get as fit and strong as I can. And then, like I said, just try and play consistent week in, week out.
Have you ever had that before? The injury? I know you've had injuries in the past.
Yeah.
I remember being serious ones rather than little ones even.
No, not really, mate. Like, I was in Australia there for a couple of years, you know, and didn't have anything, which was quite frustrating because obviously you come to a new club, like I said, and you want to do your best for the team. And just a couple of setbacks here and there. But, like, I played the game long enough now, and it happens. You go on runs sometimes where things don't seem like they're going your way, but big on how you bounce back and how you react. And that's something I made a promise of myself, you know, coming into the pre-season was, you know, put my best foot forward and give everything I can.
Just at the end of last year, obviously, you didn't play in the grand final. How tough was that week, that day, and even, I suppose, a few weeks after, because you couldn't play in those games, you didn't play in it, you know? Yeah,
no, it was, mate. It was really tough, and something I'm not used to, really. You know, every time I've been at Old Trafford, I've been a part of that team, and you're in a completely different mindset. So, yeah, look, it was tough. I kind of knew, obviously, not playing the semi-final, that, you know, there wasn't a good chance I'd play in the final, but I did everything right to, you know, make sure Willie had the opportunity to pick me if the chance was there. But yeah, for me, it was just a trying to approach it a different way. I was in and out the changing rooms, you know, around the lads who say it was first final it was, and just trying to give as much advice as I could, really. But yeah, it was tough, especially with the loss as well. Sitting on the sidelines, you have no input into the game, so it was a pretty tough period. But again, lit that fire in my belly to get back there for this year, hopefully. And you know, I'll be doing everything I can to help the team out.
Help me with my memory. Was it your rib that you'd done for the semi?
Yeah. So I did my rib against Wigan. So I fractured my rib, and then I tried to play the week after against Leigh. Obviously, you can have painkilling injections and stuff like that, and I couldn't do my job, basically. So we tried to rest it for a week, and then I went again. And I ended up passing my fitness test to play, but obviously I'd had 2 weeks, so I'd not been a part of that team. And you know, it's a tough call for any coach to pick someone who's been on the sidelines there. And Brody was going really well at the time, so you know, he rightly got his spot.
Well, I don't want to bring back negative memories, but what was your reaction the moment you found out he'd be going with Jack over yourself?
Yeah, I was gutted, mate. I was upset. I'm not going to lie. It's the biggest day of your career is getting to Old Trafford and playing. And like I said, I'd been to Australia a couple of years previously, so not been back there for a few years. And I did everything I could to play. You know, I passed my tests and did everything asked of me. And you know, it's sport, isn't it? You can't always have it your way. And I was made up for Brody. Like I said, I'd spoke to him, you know, before the game and said, mate, you deserve this. Like, you come in the club, you've done really well. So I was really happy for him. But, you know, as an individual, it's you know, it's upsetting. But it's a couple of weeks in the off season, things die down, and then you're on to the next one. Then you're a couple of weeks from starting back. And like I said, I spoke to myself about, right, this year we're going to have a good pre-season. And, you know, I did no injuries throughout the pre-season, fittest I've felt. And, everything's going smoothly so far.
I know injuries are bad luck, so the easy question is to ask, was it a motivator for this year? But I don't want to make you give a stock answer. I don't know if it was or not, or it's just...
What, with the injuries being a motivator?
With the injury and not playing at Old Trafford. And
yeah, I don't think the injuries was a motivation. It was more, you know, for myself. I'd come to the club here and really wanted to perform. And, you know, my first year was a lot of stop-start, so I felt like I wasn't giving my best, you know, week in, week out, which is quite frustrating. You know, as a player, you just want to be in the team every week. And, you know, we had such a great year last year, and sometimes you kind of you don't feel a part of it when you're on the sidelines. So that's something I've learned as well about myself. And yeah, it was just an honest conversation with myself really in the off season, just saying, look, you didn't have a great year, but it happens. Move on now and get back in there for next season.
Sweet. Cheers, Paul.
All good, mate.
Hi, Holly. All right.
Hi, mate. You okay? Hi, Gary.
Yeah, thank you. Just off my memory, which area of Wigan are you from?
So I originally grew up in Ashton, in Bryn, and then I was in Hindley from high school, really, year 7.
Oh, as a proud Wiganer,
yeah.
What does seeing Leigh doing well make you feel? Are you sort of admiration, or does the Wiganer in you kick in?
No, yeah, I've still got the Wiganer in me, don't get me wrong, but more the personnel who are at Leigh now. Obviously, the likes of Lammy, Clubby, who I played with at Wigan. I've got a few good friends in that team, so it's great to see them, do well. As a team from Lancashire as well, I think having Leigh as a strong Super League contender is only good for the game. So, it is great to see them boys doing well.
I was going to say, has Leigh's rise, for want of a phrase, over the past couple of years come as a surprise to you as an outsider looking in?
Yes and no. Obviously, I knew how good Lammy was as a coach, and he's got his own philosophies and style of play, and that's something I enjoyed when I had him coaching me at Wigan. So, not really. Obviously, Tony Clubb going there as well, someone who's recently just retired from the game, and was a great player for Wigan. So, no, I'm not too surprised really. I think they're trying to do things the right way now, investing in the youth, in the academy, and they've got good facilities there. So. Not too surprised.
And with you being at Hull KR as well, it's good to see 2 different names at that top table, because it was always like Wigan, Saints, Warrington, Leeds for years and years, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, again, coming to Hull KR now, and, we're one of them, top running teams. And it would be nice to see a new name on the trophy. I think it'd benefit the whole league and the sport on that note.
Just on Sam, has he been uncontrollable this week?
Sam Luckley?
Yeah.
No, he's not, mate. He's calmed down a bit now, but to be fair, I'm a United fan, so I obviously really didn't want Liverpool to win. So, I was made up for Luckers. Yeah, made up.
He's Budgie United fan as well?
Budgies as well, yeah.
All right, so there is a group of you there in Easthall, sort of making him feel at home, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyone but Liverpool.
Nah, anyone but Liverpool.
That's well, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks, Gary.